Hi everyone and welcome.
Yeah, welcome back. I know
Yes,
it's been a while.
it's actually been a whole how many months?
No, it's not months. I think we posted. It's been a while. I
Okay,
think
it's been a while.
we posted in December, yes.
Yes, yes,
And we're
yes.
glad to be back.
Yeah.
Okay, so today we want to talk about a question that we have always been asked. Like people have always asked us this question. So today we want to
Mhm.
answer that question. And what's the question? It is how we met. People keep wondering, how did you guys meet? And I'm sure that this will be so shocking to a lot of people. You are going to be wondering,
Yeah, I have a question that follows up that question.
what's the question?
Why are they asking how we met like these two people? Why did you even is it that kind of question? Because that kind of question has an answer. It has a different kind of
Eh,
answer. Okay, but because we are doing video, we'll go with the normal answer, which is we will tell you how we met.
okay.
How we met. All right, let's go. Let's go.
Okay, so we'll be talking about how we met today, and we'll try and keep it brief because I normally tell people that if we have to talk about how we met, you probably will spend the whole day with us having that gist, but we'll make it as brief as possible. So we may omit some information, but if you want to get the full gist, you can come see us one on one. So the way we get people even more curious about how we met is that we tell them that we wedded exactly 1 month after we saw each other physically.
Yeah, for the first
Now,
time.
for the
Yeah,
first time,
yeah.
we waited exactly 1 month. Now you are wondering what's going on. So I'm going to let him start because it started from let him start the story, then I will take it up from there. So over to you, sir.
Over to me.
Yeah.
Thank you. She said she wanted to say it started with there. I don't know why she cut herself short.
No, it didn't
Yes,
start with you because as it was happening on your end, it was happening on my end too.
yes.
So
Don't worry, I'll still address this thing she's trying to run away from. Okay, so um let's go to December 2020. At that time, I had just gone 8 months into my PhD studies, and before then, I had just come out of a relationship before I started the PhD studies. So I was really eager, looking forward to okay, who is the next person God will bring my way? And because my PhD happened overseas, um, I was open to the opportunities of meeting someone over there
maybe a
and
white girl.
the right guy, if you had been searching for as long as
And
I
God
did,
gave you brown skin
and
girl.
that's how we met. Thank you very much. Should I tell the story now? Thank you. So, so after spending 8 months, and I hadn't received a lead into any particular person.
Mm,
At a point in time, I just said, you know what, let it be. But on this, I think it was a Saturday, Sunday.
mm,
I was on my bed just going over the activities of the previous day, how I had cleaned up the church in preparation for service the next day. And
church.
yeah, the children's church, yes. And then the Holy Spirit just told me, or rather, He impressed in my heart, speak to a certain sister in the church, tell her your need, and ask her to recommend someone to you. I was like, wait, you mean after 8 months you just suddenly speak like that? And I had to ask him again. I was like, are you sure?
Mm,
And yes, he impressed it the second time. Say, yes, speak to her.
mm,
Okay. I said, this is going to be weird because this particular sister, we've not really had, I would say, interactions that were that deep.
mm,
And so I said, okay, as weird as this is, I'll just simply follow instruction. So Sunday comes after the service. I meet the sister at the I'll call it the lounge of the church or the waiting area, the reception area, and I said, "There's something I want to ask you, and I can understand if you think it's weird and all, but I assure you, I'm doing this because I'm led." And she was like, "Okay," and then I just told her essentially, I'm actually not in a relationship right now, and I'm hoping you can recommend someone to me. It was me. It was like me waiting for a ticking bomb to explode. And the next thing, she erupted in excitement. I was like, "Wow, that's awesome!" And I was like, "What is this, fake or real?" I don't know what reaction to give to that. She's like, "Okay, okay, 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 that's awesome, that's awesome. Okay, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want in the moment?" This and that. I said, "Wow, okay." So after I just shared with her who um, I considered a woman I should be with, I eventually added at the end and said, "You know what? Just make sure she's someone who loves the Lord, and you don't even need to talk with her before you know you can see it from a distance that this person really loves the Lord." And she said, "Okay." Now, let me just fast forward the story. 3 weeks, she searched and searched. She couldn't find anyone. She said, I tell you, in this country we are in, I'll be frank with you, I don't think there's anyone that, even me self, as I look at you, I say, no, this person won't be, it's not right for you. And she said, amongst my friends in Nigeria, it seems either they are married or for some reason, they're unavailable. So at the point in time, I said, you know what? Let it be. And I just continued my normal life. And I think I had this discussion with her sometime in December 2020. Then in January 2021, she eventually tells me and says, I found someone. And I'm like, okay. In fact, she said that after I even casually just reached out to her to greet her. I don't even think I was reaching out to her to ask how far because I left that chapter. And she said, I found someone. I just spoke with her, and you know what? I'll set up the meet and she's willing to talk with you. It's like, okay, great. And I had assured her by the time I was speaking with her the first time about it, and I said, even though you bring this person, I'm going to do my homework. I'm going to pray about her, and I'm going to assume every responsibility for the choice. So don't feel in any way you're responsible for, oh, I chose for him because I brought her. No, 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 no. The final decision, the final vetting, I would do that. So I went back in prayer after she had said, okay, this person is available to talk with you. And I asked the Lord, and the Lord told me something quite interesting. Let me hold that thought so that you see how it plays into what he told me. Okay, so we set a meet for the discussion. I texted this particular lady. I was told her name is Glory. That's what I was told. It's not my fault.
So what have you now found out?
That her name is not Glory.
Her name is what?
Gloria. So I set up a meet and we spoke. I think it was on a Friday, and this was another weird moment for me again because I was like, now I'm this stranger out of the blues calling somebody I don't even know, and the first thing out of my mouth is the most serious matter next to salvation that I can be discussing with somebody. But I said, hey, I'm a man under instruction, so let's just do it. I would rather risk being ashamed than being disobedient to God because of ego or anything. So I told her and I said,
I think, okay, move after the conversation.
okay, she's itching to pitching. So I itched, I leaned in and yeah. And I now said, hi, my name is Nonso, and I know this call may seem quite unusual, but I'll say it as it is. I really believe that God has led me to speak with you and ask that we be in a relationship towards marriage. Yeah, that was the speech. And her reaction, which is something she would discuss, it was probably one of my first green flags that this is somebody.
Wife material.
Yes, wife material. I think that's the way to put it. Yes. Oh yeah, over to you.
No, tell them the response now.
Okay, the response. Okay. Her response was a response of, okay, you might not know what you're saying, but because at least what you are saying was communicated articulately, I would be civil with you. I'll respect you. I'll give you audience. But evidently, what you've said is not enough for me to make a decision on the spot. And she was very courteous with me. We talked. In fact, we talked for 1 hour. Yes. Total strangers with a weird introduction. And the talk was more of not even relationship really. We were talking like people who just wanted to know who we were as human beings, how we function, what our philosophies were, what we thought of the other person's backgrounds and all. And she asked me very serious questions. And I had to give my answer on the spot. This one is not go come.
Give us an example of the questions so
Okay.
that for those that want to learn
Okay.
from it.
Okay. I will. Now, the one I remember very well is when she asked and said, "Okay, I am from a broken home. Are you comfortable being with someone from a broken home?" And she gave me mic. And right there and then, I'm telling you, that question, I didn't even know, that was the first time I was hearing about her background family wise. So right there and then, I couldn't escape any facial reaction it would show because it was a video call. And right there, I had a discussion in my head and I was like, okay, as much as this is not what I had hoped for, answer the truth. Answer what you believe in, what you tell people that you believe in. And I told her it doesn't matter. You may be from a broken home, but that doesn't necessarily determine who you are. It's a factor. It must be considered, but it's not a necessary reflection of who you are. And she said, okay. And for her, she was busy ticking her own little booklets. Even though at the back of her mind, she had already said, this guy said, I don't understand. But she was just taking her booklet and said, let's just ask some questions. But later she'll tell you the real reason why she was asking those questions. But in my mind, it was more of a put your mouth, or is it put your convictions where your mouth is? Because these are things that in theory you say, yes, it doesn't matter. What really matters is this, that. But when you now see it in real life that's happening to you, eh. So those were one of the questions. And I think she was asking questions. She also asked me questions about what my future plans were in that country I was. And okay, I answered. And thankfully, I had a good answer. She was asking me, okay, what do you plan to do? I told her about the business I was running. So it was like courtship slash interview slash.
No, proposal slash interview.
I never
You were
proposed.
proposing marriage.
Okay, actually,
now.
it's true. I was
Eh,
proposing.
And I interviewed you.
Okay. She has put it succinctly. Yes, that's exactly what it was. So that was what we were discussing for 1 hour. And in between, there were really genuine moments of laughter, joking. So yes, we were talking something serious, but we didn't really take ourselves too seriously. So I really appreciated that mutual respect. In fact, I told her on that same call, because I couldn't hide my admiration. I told her on that same call, and I said, if you were my younger sister, and you told me that a man approached you with such a question and you engaged him in this manner, I will shake your hand. Because that's the kind of engagement that shows that you have something inside your head, that you are assertive, that you are discerning, and that you do not take such matters lightly. You know? So I think she drove the discussions that day. She drove it. I was the one on the answering side. But yeah, to me, it was a beauty. I just thank God. I said, of all the scenarios of how this conversation could go, this was unexpected. This was much better. So yeah, now can I hand the mic over to you? Or you are beginning to enjoy your own story? Now one for you. All right.
Thank you for sharing.
Mm.
So, let me start my own story. So, it happened in September. I think September, October, no, October, November, between September and December 2021. No, it was 2020. 2020, sorry. So I'm mixing up dates. September to November 2020, the Lord spoke to me and gave me certain instructions. And he told me that my husband was around the corner. That one I heard very clearly, and some of my friends can attest to this, that I told them that from what the Lord had told me, I sensed I would meet my husband before the year ended. It was so strong. And he also gave me several other instructions. And one of them, which I would also love to share on this video, is that he told me to sow seeds towards my financial and marital breakthrough. So I had to do that. I sowed seeds. I think I eventually I sowed seed between November to December 2021. And I was really expecting to see the guy. And somehow nobody came, the year ended, and I just moved on. But I was still expectant. But I just felt I would meet the guy in 2020 December before the year ended. But he didn't come, and January 2021, I had to resign from my job, and I was just so focused on building my business. And anybody who was on my WhatsApp contact list those days know that I post pictures. If you go to my, you can't check my status without seeing food. It's not that I've relented. You would always see pictures of food. And at a point, people started complaining that we are fasting and you are posting pictures of food. You are not allowing us to. Well, I was just trying to build my business, but I had to stop because I'm also a Christian and I don't want people, because of my status, to not be focused on their fasting. So I reduced posting pictures, and it was just itching me to post pictures that day. And but I didn't want to post food pictures. And I just started posting pictures of myself, just admiring the work of God.
That's one way to put it.
So I was posting pictures of myself. I posted maybe up to 8 or 10 that day. And this lady just entered, a woman just entered my DM and said, "Ah, your pictures are fine. Ah, that's true. Are you engaged?" And I was like, "Where's that? Where is that question coming from?" I said no. I said, "Okay, so there is one brother here that I would like you to meet." And in my mind, I was like, wait, 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 wait. Did I come and meet you that? That was what I was thinking. That I want a man. What's the meaning of this? It was not, I wasn't even interested, but she's someone I respect and love so much. So I just had to behave myself. But as we were chatting, she saw that this girl is not even interested in what I'm saying. And, she got pissed and she was like, "You're not even asking me a question about him. You're not asking me where he's from and all." And, out of respect, I was just like, "Okay, where is it from?" She's like, "You did not even ask me for his picture." I said, "Okay, send his picture." And when she sent pictures, I just said, "Me to this one, no way." And I was not in the house. I went out. So when I came back, my friend, my prayer partner, was at home. She came visiting. And when I got home with all the frustration and anger, I just told my friend, "Can you imagine? Somebody messaged me telling me she wants to hook me up with somebody." The way we ladies gist now. I do not like the idea. I didn't like it and I still do not like it. But God chooses to humble us and He chooses how He works with us. So I do not even like the idea of somebody, couples meeting through each other. It's just a personal thing. So I wasn't expecting God to work that way, but God can humble us. So I told her, and I was ranting and ranting and ranting, and I was like, "See the picture, he's not even looking fine. They said he's doing PhD. At what age? You are just a little above 30, and you are watching."
Is it not sad? Is it not? Now continue the story, Jolly.
I was ranting, and I showed her the picture. She was like, "It's not that bad though." Oh my God. I just got pissed again. I was thinking she would just laugh at him with me, but she didn't laugh. And she said, "It's not that bad." And she was like, "Why are you angry? Are you not the one that told us that God said your husband is around the corner? What if he's the one?" When she said that, I was like, it could be this guy. And before then, I had met a guy 2 weeks before I met him. In fact, they had so many similarities. But I just saw that this person is not a consistent Christian. I watched his WhatsApp status and I could see that this one is just shere Christian. You can't be the one that will marry. You're not serious with God. You're only playing church. So he came 2 weeks. She spoke to me 2 weeks later. And I was like, would he be the one? I was thinking it was that person. And that fear just sets in that see, if you pray, God will just tell you that this guy is your husband. So I was just looking for ways to just make him turn back. So the woman told me that he was going to reach out to me and all, but just out of respect, okay, no problem. Then he messaged me. Should I say it? Should I say it?
I fear not the truth.
So he didn't message. He called. And when he called, I was like, hello, Nne. I was like,
Yes.
I was,
Is she not an in now?
I was like, I think I had to go and meet my friend, and I said, the guy just called, so we fixed a date to talk. He didn't call on time. He waited for some time before he even reached out to me. After the woman had told me that he was going to reach out to me, and he eventually did. And that was when I told my friend, I said, he even has Igbo accent. That me, I don't want that kind of guy. Oh. And I'd already said things like, is fair, is this, I had said a lot of things. I can't even go into details in this on this video. So that was how I told my friend, I said, I don't want to talk to this guy. I don't even think I want to. And I remember that morning, it was a Saturday morning on my end, very early in the morning, and it was almost time. And my friend was waking me up and said, "Gloria, you need to talk to this guy." And I said, I'm not interested. I was lying down on my bed. I said, let him talk to me. She had to get up to look for something for me to wear, just to look presentable. She was like, won't you do makeup? I said, I'm not doing makeup. If he does not like me like this, with my just waking up face. So we eventually upped on the call. And he told me that, oh, the Lord is asking me to pursue a relationship with you, pursue marriage with you, and I would want you to pray about it. And it sounded so confident. And anybody that knows me knows that I love confident people. Especially when it comes to issues of marriage, you are asking me out and you're not talking like you are not sure of what you are saying. He was so confident that God really wanted us to be married. So I didn't like him because he was not my spec. Now he's my spec. Like I always say, I was seeing men as trees then. So, but I loved the confidence. And it was like, go and pray. Once you pray, God will talk to you. He was so confident that God would speak to me.
That's how she was saying it. How I was saying was, I believe if you pray, God will talk. But the way she was saying, come pray, God talk to you. That's right.
Now you were sounding. I was like, just pray. To the point that I was like, I was telling my friend, I said, it's sure for this guy. Anyways, I was still serving breakfast. Unfortunately, I'm cooking lunch and dinner already. So he told me to go and pray, but I didn't like it. Was not my spec. So I didn't bother praying because something just told me that if you pray, God will just tell you that this guy is your husband. I knew somewhere, but I was just telling God, how could I have waited for almost 8 years and you are not giving me my spec? This is the kind of person you are bringing my way. It wasn't so cool. So I didn't want to pray. So all my friends that got to know about it were just rooting for him as if no, he had given them, he had bribed them. So I summoned up the courage to talk to my spiritual father. And when I did, he told me, he said, I have known my spiritual father is a very, what's the word now? He pays attention to details. He's a very meticulous person. So at the moment you are talking, he'll just tell you, see, you've not found your husband. This person is not the one. But when I was talking to him, I was just like, Gloria, I think you are being too hard on this guy. I don't sense anything wrong. Why not just go and pray about him? That was what I didn't want to hear. So we ended that conversation on go and pray about him and let's hear what God would say. But I didn't want to pray. This guy is not my was not my spec. Why would you guys ask me? Why would you people ask me to pray? So I eventually had to pray. And I prayed to fulfill all righteousness, not because I even wanted God to talk to me about him. I prayed because I didn't want my spiritual father to ask me the next time we would speak if I prayed and I would just say, and I would now lie. I didn't want to lie. So I was on my bed that day and I just prayed that God, please talk to me about this brother that is asking me how to. What do you have to say about him? It was a very simple prayer. I didn't spend 10 minutes on the prayer. I did it just to fulfill all righteousness. And lo and behold, I slept and I dreamt. I'm not sure if I should share the dream on this call. Let me just summarize it. That just on this call, on this video. Let me just summarize it so that I won't take much time. So the summary of the dream was that in the dream, I was telling him that God has told me that you are my husband. Like he was doing shakara for me or something like that in the dream. And I just thought I said, you are doing shakara. God has told me that you are my husband. And when I woke up, because of how much I had bragged to my friend that no, he can't be the one. I can't even date him. See, I said a lot of things, but this video is not for. So I couldn't even tell my friend on time, but I eventually did. But when I woke up, I told God, I said, this dream is not enough for me to make a decision about my life partner. You need to speak to me in more clear ways or in clearer ways. I need to hear you. I need to be very convinced. And there's something I also want to share. After some time, we were still on it, and I was sharing with someone who was like a pastor to me, then just sharing with him that, oh, there's this guy, and that I don't like him. And it was like, if you don't like him, why not just tell him? I had intentions of telling him to just go. I was like, well, me, I'll just tell him to go, that I wasn't interested in a relationship with him then. I just wanted to focus on my business at that point in time and all. So he told me, he said, if you are not interested in him, just tell him to go. If he still waits after you have told him to go, then he's serious. So I made up my mind that night after I spoke with that person that I was going to tell him to go, that I wasn't ready for a relationship. And after we had that conversation, my plan was that the next call I was going to have with him, I would just tell him to just go. But after that call I had with that person, I lost my peace. And that's one of the ways that God speaks to me. When I want to make a decision, when I want to take a step and I lose my peace rather, I know that God is saying don't do it. Or if I do it, I would regret it. So I knew that I was not meant to do that. So it was another sign for me that it seems this guy is the will of God. Another thing that happened was after some time, I think there was a time I even told him to give me 7 days to go and pray. I didn't want to talk to him, just cut off from him so that I would hear God, just pick out time to pray. And God gave me some scriptures even during that period. And aside that, I remember that after some time, okay, before I say that, let me talk about where he stopped. He talked about how we had the first conversation and I was asking him questions. It was not even only on that first conversation. Almost every conversation, I was asking him questions. And I remember asking him, why would a young man like you go to meet someone to help him look for a wife to hook him up with? And I remember his answer I found it was very profound. He said, I was expecting to hear something else, but he said something entirely different. He said, maybe the question you should ask is not why, why I did that, but who asked me to do that? And he said, God asked me to do that, and that was why I did that. I was very impressed with that question. That this person seems to be on the same frequency with me. He's not just, he's not, he seems to be someone who won't make decisions without asking God. And it was one of the qualities I was looking out for in any man I was going to marry. You need, before I can submit to you as a wife, you must be able to hear God. You must have a relationship with God, and you must find it very easy to obey God. So that got me quite impressed. And after some time, back to where I was, I I started praying, and for a while it seemed God was not saying anything to me again. But we were talking after I did the 7 days. It wasn't okay before the 7 days. God wasn't saying anything to me, but we were talking almost every day. And I realized that I had begun to have feelings for this guy that I said I was going to serve breakfast and was not my spec. So one morning, I think I was trying to dress up to go out, and I just told God, I said, "You're not saying anything about this guy." Okay, I think I was praying when I woke up in the morning. I was praying. I said, "I need you to talk to me about this guy. You're not saying anything about this guy." And I am beginning to love this guy. I'm beginning to develop feelings for him. So I don't want my feelings to cloud, my emotions to cloud my decision. So please speak to me. But God didn't say anything. And I just rounded off my prayers, went to have my bath, and I was planning to go out. I was dressed, and the Lord just spoke to me and said, "Don't you think that you having feelings for him is also a way? Is also me answering you." I'm trying to remember how he said it to me verbatim. But he was just saying, in essence, that the fact that you are having feelings, you are developing feelings for this guy, is also me answering your prayers. And I think as I went on my way, he started telling me that if you do not,
Yes.
if I tell you that this guy is your husband without you having feelings for him, without you loving him and accepting him, it will be difficult. So I need to work on your feelings before I make it clearer to you that he is your husband. And that was another moment of conviction for me that this guy is my husband. And I went on a 7 days prayer. I told him to give me some gap that I needed to pray and be sure what God was saying, because I needed to be extra sure. I needed to be 100% sure that this guy is my husband. And within that 7 days, I think within 3 days, God had spoken to me. He gave me a scripture, and the Holy Spirit told me on one of those days I was praying that I should go back to my 2017 diary, which I had shared with a group of people recently. That I should go back to my 2017 diary and look at the things I had written down about my husband, the things I wanted, and the prophecies I had received about my husband, if this guy I'm talking about fitted into it. Lo and behold, I opened my diary and I wrote down over 20 things that I wanted in a man. I wrote them down during a personal retreat. So I know that it was not just what I wanted, but also some of them were informed by the Spirit of God. And it fitted into everything. I wrote them down in 2017 and I met him in 2021. Everything, not one, over 20. The other one was the prophecies I received from God about my husband. It was like someone knew him and described it to me, and I wrote it down. It fitted into everything, and that was just what I banked on. That this is the man for me. And that was how we went ahead. I had told him, I went back and I told him, I said, "I think I have gotten enough conviction to know that you are my husband, but I have made a decision not to go into any relationship with any man until my spiritual fathers vet the person. So if they do not give their approval, I would not go into a relationship with you. And as God would have it, after some months, maybe about 6 months,
No, three.
since we met.
Since we met,
Yes, it was 6 months.
four.
It was six. It was June,
And
and we met in January.
okay.
So within it was, I think it was in the 6th month that my spiritual father gave us the go ahead to go into a relationship. He also prayed with me. And I would like to say this here that he did not come and say, "Oh, I know this is your husband." He told me to go and pray. And he confirmed, I told him everything that the Lord had told me. And he confirmed he confirmed, he had to go and pray about the things I told him. And he said, "Okay, I think you are on the right track." And that was how we started our relationship. And here we are today, almost 2 years in marriage. Thank you.
So I guess that about answers it. There was something I said I would tell you later, the audience, once we get to that part of the story, and that is, what did God tell me before I made that first phone call with her? After I heard that the lady was available to speak with me, and I went to pray about her. And what the Lord told me was that initially she will reject you, but later she will agree. And that was a word I held on to. So when I saw the initial rejections, it was something I was also mentally prepared for. So I didn't see it as a slight to my ego, because I knew that, okay, God is still in control. However, I know it got to a point where um, I felt like, yeah, ego came in. I was like, what on earth is happening? In fact, fear now joined ego and said, perhaps this will now end up like your previous relationships. And I remember in that moment, God comforted me and spoke mightily to my spirit. And the words he said was along the lines of, this particular lady, I'm paraphrasing it now, mark my words, you will marry her. I couldn't even share that word with her.
He just kept telling me there's something I will tell you.
That's because I wanted to.
And he didn't say it until we started the relationship properly.
Yeah, because you see, that word was not under probability. It was not under. It wasn't if you are willing and obedient. It wasn't that. This was a how do you call it? This was like, this one now I will do all in my power to bring it to pass. And for me, it was that the Lord had empathized with my fears and had seen my willingness to stick it out with him, and it was like, you know what, I assure you this will be the last time you would have to wonder or be concerned about if a relationship will end up right, because this is it. And I thank God it ended up that way. So yeah, that was the kind of mindset I had while waiting for her during those periods. So I didn't spend those periods being offended, or in fact, at a point that she asked me, she said, do you even know if I'm playing you and there's someone here I'm already in a relationship with? I simply told her, I said, if that be the case, the Lord will tell me. To me, that was me more of celebrating my confidence, not in her, but in God. It's because of my confidence in God. That's why we could even have a long distance relationship. In fact, here is some extra notes. I remember how someone was telling me and saying, no, so stop being naive. There's every likelihood that you are being played. You don't know this lady, you've not seen her, you are being played. Of course, I didn't want to get into a discussion with that person, because, when you're talking faith with someone that wants evidence first before they believe, you're on two different wavelengths. And for me, the evidence I got is probably the best evidence you can get anywhere. Thus saith the Lord evidence. And that evidence, it can create realities that either don't exist or you think can't exist. Can create them. So those were the things that really facilitated our meeting. So there's the physical meeting of how did we meet, but there was also the meeting of meeting God at his level of faith, at his level of thinking, at his level of obedience, which required from us. We had to progress there. She too was saying, I didn't want this person. I didn't. Yeah, me too. I had all those thoughts. I just wasn't vocal about it. I fought it in my heart with the Lord, and tried to settle it there. And I thank God because it was the right decision. So,
Yes. I was already getting carried away. So I think we will wrap this up here and continue it. So we would love to have a part two because we've really taken time on this one. So thank you for listening and we would love to hear your comments. Also share with your friends.
yes.
The ones that are waiting, they could pick one or two things. So thank you so much. See you in part two. Bye.
Bye.